Good morning, children. In the previous class, we discussed about women and reform. In that time, we discussed that there are a lot of changes that happened in our society. In ancient time, you know that there are a lot of practices that exist in our society, especially in Hindu religion. You know that sati, then widows were not allowed to marry, then so the other social evils in the society. So later on what happens, women they raise to voice against these kinds of social problems and social issues and social evils. That is why many reformers they come forward and react against these kinds of social evils that exist in the society. So let us study about how the women that change the world and how the women they get freedom in the society. How many leaders they come forward for the reform in the society, especially the women. So let us first study about Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. This Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, he set up many schools for girls. He set up many schools for girls. Who set up many schools for girls? Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, he set up many schools for girls in the mid 19th century. In the mid 19th century, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, he set up many schools for girls. Why? This girls school started because girls were not allowed to go to school. Moreover, they feared that if girls will get education, they won't interested towards the household activities. Moreover, they become widows in the societies. They think like that. They had a lot of belief. One belief is that if girls will be educated, they become widows. One thing. Another thing is that suppose if girls will get educated and they will get a job, they won't take care of their husband and the children. They will be against this husband and children. They may think like that. That was the wrong belief and the wrong idea in that time. So that Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, he gave importance to the education of girls and he started schools and he set up schools for girls in the mid 19th century in Bombay. In Bombay, you know that Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, he set up many schools for girls in the mid 19th century in Bombay. So afterwards, you know that earlier, you know that people feared that if girls will get education, they won't do domestic duties. They never do the domestic duties, household chores or household duties. They never do. Who never do? The girls will not do. If once they will get education, they won't do domestic duties. That was the belief of the people in ancient time. Later on, things changed. Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, he set up schools for girls. So girls get a chance to study and they got education. They understood the social evils in the society. Then they react against the social evils that exist in our society. Next we can study about the educated women. Even the educated women, they study themselves. You know that even educated women were not allowed to study. How they studied? They studied secretly in home. Sometimes their husband will support. Sometimes father will support. The girl's father or husband will support to study. Otherwise, they can't study. You know that in earlier society, women they were not allowed to study. So even educated women also they can't go to the public place and they can't study in that public spaces, public schools or public spaces. They can't go and study. Girls were not allowed. That time how they learned? They learned secretly with the help of the father as well as husband. With the help of the father, with the help of her father, with the help of her father or husband, with the help of them only they learned and they studied. They secretly learned. At night times they studied and secretly learned. They learned and studied. Educated women they studied themselves with the help of father, maybe husband, their help only. With their help only, she can study secretly also. So next we want to study about Rasundara Devi. She studied in home at night. You know one best example. Rasundara Devi. She studied in home at night. Why she studied home at night? Because daytime she was not allowed to study daytime. Daytime, suppose if anybody will see that Rasundara Devi is studying in home, they they may be against Vasundhara Devi in order to prevent the situation, and Vasundhara Devi understood this and Vasundhara Devi decided to study at night. That is why Vasundhara Devi studied in home at night, secretly only learned. Even Vasundhara Devi also learned, she got education, secretly she learned in home at night. She learned at night. Daytime they won't. So what she did, she secretly learned at night. Vasundhara Devi studied in home at night. She secretly learned all these textbook and other things. She secretly only learned. Next we want to study about Jyoti Rao Phule. You know that Jyoti Rao Phule, she started schools in Maharashtra. Who started schools in Maharashtra? Maharashtra, girls' education was not possible in Maharashtra in that times. Girls were not allowed to study. That time, Jyoti Rao Phule, she started schools in Maharashtra. So that girls they get a chance to learn in schools. This Maharashtra, when she started schools, that is so many children, girl children, they get a chance to study. Otherwise, they won't get education. So that Jyoti Rao Phule, she was also a social reformer. She started schools in Maharashtra so that girl children they get a chance to study in Maharashtra. Next is Mundasari. You know that Mundasari, even the Quran also that was written, Quran that was written in Arabic, you know it very well. Even these women, they were not allowed to learn and study Quran in that time. So that they hesitate to study. They fear that if they study, they will get a punishment. So that time Mundasari, she come forward and she learned like Vasundhara Devi. She studied herself. Without anybody's help. She learned at night this Quran, the scripts and other things she learned, and she learned the Quran. Afterwards, what she did, this Mundasari interpreted the verses from the Quran. Afterwards, she interpreted. Who interpreted? This Mundasari. She interpreted verses from Quran. She interpreted. So that when she interpreted Quran, that was written in Arabic form. You know that was Quran that was written in Arabic. That will be translated so that women also get a chance to learn and study. Those who does not know this Arabic also, they get a chance to learn. Why? Because that was translated in their own language, so that they will get a chance to learn and study Quran. I hope that you understood that was the contribution of Mundasari. She learned Arabic secretly, and afterwards she interpreted the verses from Quran in their own language, so that girls will get a chance to learn and study Quran, what was written in that Quran. Next, women writers. Many women writers they come forward after when the middle of this 19th century. Many women writers they come forward. They become bold and brave. They decided to write for women. They decided to write many books for women. Journals, magazines, publications. They want to many journals, many books they want to write. Many women writers they come forward and they write for the freedom of women. They write for the freedom of women, education for women. All these things they write in their own book. So Begum Rokhaya Shagawat Hussain. Begum Rokhaya Shekhawat Hussain. She started schools for Muslims. You know that Muslim girls were not allowed to study. Muslims girls were not allowed to go to school in that time. Muslim girls were given they were given some kinds of studies related to home and other things. They about cooking and other things only they will allow to study. The people believe that after even though they study also no use at all. What will happen after their studies also they will be married off by someone. At that times she can't work, and what is the use of giving education for these girl children, especially Muslim girls. That time Begum Rokhaya Shekhawat Hussain, she started many schools for Muslims, especially in Patna and Calcutta. especially in Patna and Calcutta. This Begum Ruqayya Shekhawat Hussain, she started schools for Muslim girls, especially Muslim girls. So Muslim girls get a chance to study the schools run by Begum Ruqayya Shekhawat Hussain. In that time, the girl children, Muslim girl children, they were not allowed to learn and study. They were not allowed to learn and study because people they have a wrong belief and wrong notion that if Muslim girls will study also, no use at all. They will be married off afterwards. The husband will not allow to go for a job or anything like that. They may think like that. Moreover, spending this money is waste. Spending this much of amount of money is waste for the education of girl children. They will give education to boys only. Boys, they think that if boys education will given, definitely afterwards when they become old, that times these boys will support and boys will support after when they become old. So that they think that they have these kinds of belief. But this Begum Ruqayya Shekhawat Hussain, she started schools for Muslims. That was in Patna and Calcutta. That times things totally changed. Girls, women girls, they get a chance to study in schools. Next in 1880, many women get a chance to enter universities. Many women in 1880, many women they studied in the universities. They got a good education. Women they got a good education. They entered universities. They become doctors. They become doctors, teachers, etc. So once these women get education, they become doctors. They become teachers, so that they can survive in the society. In early times, women they were not allowed to study. Women they were not given proper education. That is what happens. Women were totally ignored by people, neglected by people. Women they were neglected to go to schools. That times these women in 1880, many women they get education. They enter university. They become doctors and teachers, etc. Pandita Ramabai said that Hinduism was oppressive towards women. Pandita Ramabai, what she said? She said that Hinduism that was oppressive towards women. They neglected the importance of women in the society. Women they played an important role in the society, same like men. So, but the Hinduism they oppress the rights of women. They oppress the rights of women, like the right to education. Right to live in the society, right to go to public spaces, right to access jobs. So these are all things are denied. So Hindu Orthodox they become very much angry to Pandita Ramabai because Pandita Ramabai criticized the social evils that existed in the Hindu society, like a denying of education to women, like not giving a job or not accessing or not getting job to girls, and moreover not allow them to study also. Once they study also, that some ideas spread. What are the ideas spread? If women get education, what are the ideas they spread? They spread the ideas Hindu Orthodox. What ideas they spread? They said that if these Hindus or if these women get education, what will happen? They will adopt Western ways. Suppose if they learn and if they study, if they get a proper education, they will adopt Western ways, and that will ruin the family values. They believe that will ruin the family values. So that they said that women they no need to give education to women. Only men need education. They will be superior than the women, and so that they can give proper education rather than giving education to women. But this Pandita Ramabai, she criticized and she said that gender equality should be provided. All are equal, and we have to give more education to men and women. Both will be considered equally, and equal education should be provided. Then they will get a chance to self-reliant or stand on their foot. That was the idea of Pandita Ramabai. But at the same time, Hindu Orthodox they criticized, they opposed her, and they said that suppose if the women will get education, they will adopt Western ways and ruin the family values. They said that they ruin the family values. They will adopt Western ways. They will live like Western people. and they will not give importance to family values. It means that they won't take care of husband and children. That is the inner meaning behind this. They think that once these girls will get education, they will adopt new reforms. They won't obey husband. They won't take care of the children. That was the idea of Orthodox Hindus. Orthodox Hindus criticized here and they said that they will adopt Western ways and ruin the family values. And they said that women argued for, and many women during this time, many women they come forward and they become the reformers, and they said that women not only getting education, rather than they need voting right also. Once again we can revise that the women writers. During this time, many women writers they come forward and they write many novels, many dramas, many poems, many books, magazines, etc. written by many women. They argued for the freedom of the women. They argued for the education of women, and so that she started schools for Muslims. Muslim girls were denied of education that time. She started school for Muslims that was in Patna and Calcutta. Next, you know that in 1818, many women they entered university. Many in 1880 they got a chance to study in the universities, and so many women they studied and they become doctors, teachers, etc. They will be in different areas of the sphere of society. Next, Tarabai Shinde. Tarabai Shinde, she also got education, but she learned in home. And you know that in earlier times, women they can't study they can't study in school. Once they can't study in school. Another thing is that if they study in daytime, they won't allow them to study. That time secretly they learned at night. Secretly they learned at night. Best example, Tarabai Shinde. She educated in home. At night she secretly learned, and she argued for Stree Purusha Tulna. What is Stree Purusha Tulna? Equality between men and women. Gender equality. Nothing but gender equality. Stree Purusha Tulna, it means that gender equality. Equality between men and women. Who argued for Tarabai Shinde argued for Stree Purusha Tulna or gender equality. And she actually nobody given education to her. She learned herself in home at night. In Patna. Afterwards, Pandita Ramabai, she was a great scholar. She was against all the social evils that existed in the society, and she was a great scholar of Sanskrit. She learned Sanskrit also. She was a great scholar of Sanskrit also, and she started many widow homes. Pandita Ramabai, she started many widow homes. Widows, in earlier time, you know that widows either ask them to die in the funeral pyre, that is sati. Otherwise, these widows they shave their head, remove their hair, remove their hair, and they wear white sarees, and they will live inner rooms. They will live in the inner rooms rather than comes to the arena. They will be asked to live in the inner rooms. They won't come to the public spaces. These women were not allowed to come to the public spaces. Whom widows were not allowed to come to the public spaces. If they come to the public spaces, they may say that bad woman or inauspicious, and so that they will always live inside of that home. So in this situation, these widows they are not getting educations. Widows they were not allowed for remarriage. Widows they will be sit inside of the room and they will suppress their feelings. These Pandita Ramabai started widow homes, many widow homes in Pune, and these widows were given proper training so that they will become self-reliant. Who become self-reliant? Widows become self-reliant. Why? Because when they will be given proper training at all. They will be the widows homes in Pune. In widows homes in Pune, they will be given proper training. After that training, they will be efficient. They will be expert in certain jobs. They can do that jobs so that they can't depend on other people. They become self-reliant. They can stand on foot. So that Pandita Ramabai started many widow widow homes, the aim of this widow homes that they can give proper education to them. Other than this, they will be trained. Once they will be trained, they will get certain jobs. They can do certain jobs. Once they do certain jobs, they become self-reliant. Who become self-reliant? The widows, they become self-reliant. They can't depend on husband. They no need to depend on parents. They no need to depend on husband. Rather than they become self-reliant. They can stand on foot. So that many Hindus they were opposed Pandita Ramabai starting this widow homes and the training sessions. They have become very much angry. Why these Hindu Orthodox become very much angry? Because they think that once women will get education, once these women will get education, they will adopt Western ways of education. They will live Western ways of life, and they may ruin the family importance. They may ruin the family importance. Here means that they will not obey husband, and they will live according to their wish and will, and they won't take care of the children. So that they believe like that. So that they oppose the Hindu Orthodox Hindus. They opposed to whom? Opposed Pandita Ramabai, and they think that once these women will get education, they will adopt the Western ways and ruin the family values. Women argue for, moreover, many women they got education. They not only argue for education, right to education, rather than this, they asked for voting right also. They asked for voting right also. Who argued for voting right? Women argued for voting right also. Many women in 1880, you know that many women they got education, proper education. They become doctors, they become teachers, etc. They will be in different spheres of life. They will be in different spheres of. They got a chance to study, and they will be in different spheres of life, and they lead their life very well. And that time, other ladies also will be motivated and encouraged. They also come forward for the studies. At first, women they feared that if once they will join in the schools, other people will neglect them. Later on, they think that they decided to go to school and get education. And they decided to be self-reliant, no need to depend on their husband, or no need to depend on the parents or any other members. They will be self-reliant, or they can stand on foot. Hinduism was oppressive towards women. Hinduism was oppressive towards women because Hindus there existed many rituals, practices, sati and other rituals and practices that will be existed in the Hindu society. That time what happens? Many women leaders they started schools. Many schools were started. Widow homes were started. Training centers were started, so that women get a lot of chance to learn and study, so that they comes forward and they will be trained and they become self-reliant. Then no need to depend on other people. Here women trained so that they could support themselves economically. They can support themselves economically. Hindu Orthodox they were opposite of this, and Hindu women adopting Western ways, and the world corrupt Hindu culture and erode family values. They think that erode the family values. This will create to erode or eradicate the family values. Who will eradicate the family? Those who got education. Women, those who got education, they will erode the family values. They think like that. Orthodox Muslims also, even Orthodox Muslims also, they were against this. Orthodox Muslims also against this. Orthodox Muslims also against this, because Orthodox Muslims also think that women will get education. That created a lot of problem in the society. They won't obey husband. They won't take care of the children. So women, so that in that time women wrote many books. Women they wrote many books. They many magazines. They wrote many magazines. End of the 19th century, that many women they come forward and they wrote many books, many magazines. And they argue for women's right. And founded schools, training centers, many schools, training centers were started. Women formed many associations. Even women formed many associations. From that association, they argued for freedom. They argued for voting rights. They argued for better health care, voting right, and education. Even education. Women in earlier times, you know that women were denied of education. women were not getting proper better health care, women were neglected of forming association. Later on, women in the 19th century, when it comes to the 19th century, many women formed many associations, many schools were started, many associations were formed, training centers started, so that women they get a lot of chance to study, learn and get training. So in the 20th century, even Subhash Chandra Bose and Jawaharlal Nehru support women's movement. Even 20th century, even when it comes to the 20th century, even Jawaharlal Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose support women's freedom movement. Who supported Jawaharlal Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose support women's movement. Next we can study about caste and social reforms. First, Ram Mohan Roy. This Rajaram Mohan Roy or Ram Mohan Roy, he translated old Buddhist textbook. Old textbook that was critical of caste, that was criticizing or critical of caste. So Ram Mohan Roy, he translated old Buddhist text that was critical of caste. So that people when he translated Ram Mohan Roy translated old Buddhist textbook, that helps the peoples to know about all these things. Next is upper caste peoples. Rajaram Mohan Roy started social reforms in the society. We learned earlier that Rajaram Mohan Roy, with the help of William Mendike, abolished sati, and he started many movements for widow remarriage, and he started reform the society, because many social rituals, practices that will be against the freedom of the peoples, that will be against the reform in the society, reformation in the society. So that Rajaram Mohan Roy opposed all these things, and Rajaram Mohan Roy was an active and able leader in that time. So he come forward and he act against sati, and then he allowed widow remarriage, and he argued for widow remarriage. Then even during this time, upper caste members, these upper caste members also joined in the movement. That is important. You know that lower caste people, they argue for their right, no problem at all. They will argue, definitely they will argue, because they are not enjoying any freedom at all. They are not getting proper education, they are not getting proper nutritious food, they are not getting proper access to education, and they are neglecting the society. That definitely the lower caste people come forward and they act for the freedom of them, act for the rights for them, girls education for them, then asking for widow remarriage, so that all these things may happen. At the same time, in these circumstances, upper caste also joined in the movement. So that become a mass movement. Why this become a mass movement? Upper caste members, upper class people or upper caste members also join in this movement, so that even upper caste people, lower caste people, all the members, they join together and they argue for the reform movement. They argue for the freedom of the women, against the social evils, social customs that practice in the society. They criticize the social evils and practices in the society. Even upper caste people also, they argued for social equality, social justice. Even these upper caste people, they dine with the lower caste people. Even these upper caste people, those who are in favor of this social justice, they dine with these lower caste peoples. They sit together with discussions, debate, and they conducted these debate discussions about the movement, so that they also participated in the freedom movement, social reform movement, etc. So the upper caste also actually participated in the movement. Even Christian missionaries, they play an important role. How we can say that Christian missionaries play an important role? Because Christian missionaries, they started many schools in India. Many schools were started by the Christian missionaries, so that the lower caste people, they are getting a chance chance to learn. The lower caste peoples, they were denied of education, they were neglected education. That time they got a golden chance to learn, they got a golden chance to study. When these Christian missionaries, they started schools, they can sit with the upper caste people, they can eat with the upper, dine with the upper caste people. In that schools, there not shows any kind of discrimination. All will be considered equal in the Christian missionary schools. So the lower caste people, they want to study. Even though actually they got a freedom when they joined the school, they got a new freedom, because in the society they were denied untouchability, unapproachability. So these kinds of untouchability, unapproachability, these kinds of practices all these practices existing. That time here, schools that was run by missionaries, when the missionary schools were started, they did not show any kind of disparities like lower caste, upper caste. Those who come to the schools, they were given education, and proper education, quality education were given in that schools, so that the lower caste people, they warm welcome that schools, they got a golden opportunity to learn and study and showing equality, social justice in the society. So Christian missionaries, they started many schools in India, so that the lower caste people, they got admission through these missionary schools. You know that even this B.R. Ambedkar also got education in the missionary schools. So missionary schools, they given proper education to this lower caste. You know that B.R. Ambedkar belongs to a lower caste called Mahar caste. Which caste? Mahar caste. He belongs to Mahar caste. So that he was not asked to sit with other children. When he go to the schools, you know that B.R. Ambedkar were not allowed to sit with other children. He was asked to sit on the floor outside of this classroom. He was asked to go outside of the classroom and ask him to sit on the floor. Look the condition. B.R. Ambedkar, we can say that the sculpture of our constitution, the maker of our constitution, he also suffered due to caste discrimination. When he studied school, that time he was asked to sit outside of the classroom on the floor. He was not asked to enter the school to sit with the other children. Why? Because he belongs to Mahar caste. After his school degree, he went into USA. He got scholarship and he went into USA and he studied in USA. Afterwards, you know that this Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, he wrote our constitution. He was one of the sculpture of our constitution. He has been called as the sculpture of constitution, father of Indian constitution. He has been called as the father of Indian constitution. Who has been called as father of Indian constitution? Dr. B.R. Ambedkar has been called as the father of Indian constitution. But when he was a small boy, when he studied in India, when he studied in schools, that time he also became a victim of caste discrimination. He also became a victim of caste. Who became victim of caste discrimination? Dr. B.R. Ambedkar became one of the victim of caste discrimination. So that he belongs to Mahar caste. That time Mahar regiment started. Many soldiers were recruited. Mahar regiment started. Mahar caste were asked them to join even the military service. That time many people from Mahar caste, they joined the Mahar regiment. They joined this army troops, Mahar regiment or Mahar troops. They joined in the army. When they joined the army, they did not. That in the army there is no kinds of discrimination or inequality at all. Social discrimination or inequality or social injustice, that was not in that military service. So that many Mahar caste, they joined in the Mahar regiment. B.R. Ambedkar's father taught in an army school. He taught in an army school. B.R. Ambedkar's father taught in an army school. So the next after that, there will be a great demand for equality. There will be a great demand for equality and justice. There will be a great demand for social equality and justice. Here in India, there existed lot of social inequalities, unapproachability, untouchability, then caste disparities, then upper caste enjoyed a lot of powers and privileges. At the same time, lower caste did not enjoy such kinds of powers and privileges. So that there are a lot of social evils, social practices that prevailed in our society. That time people argued, even upper caste people also joined. They argued for social justice. They argued for social justice, equality, and they argued for equality and social justice in our country. Then the non-Brahmins, they started many movements. Non-Brahmins, they started many movements. They were against upper caste domination. They were against upper caste domination. Upper caste people, they enjoyed a lot of powers and privileges. The upper caste people, they are enjoying all kinds of freedom at all. They enjoyed all kinds of privileges. At the same time, non-Brahmin or lower caste people, they were not getting such kinds of freedom and powers as the power enjoyed by the upper caste peoples. So that they argued for equality and social justice. Non-Brahmin movements were started. Many movements that were started in India, and they argued for social justice and equality. You know that non-Brahmin movement that was started, and another movement that was started was Satnami movement that was started by Ghasidas among leather workers. He started this movement among leather workers. Later on, Srinarayana Guru also started. Next, we can study about Srinarayana Guru, the greatest social reformer. Srinarayana Guru, he has been called as the greatest social reformer. He was against caste discrimination. He said that Guru Jati, Guru Madam, Guru Deivam. It means that one caste, one religion, one God for humankind. What he said, his idea was to remove the social inequalities in the society. That is Guru Jati, Guru Madam, Guru Deivam. It means that one caste, one religion, and one God for humanities. One God for humanities. One jati, one madam, one devam, manishyan. It means that one caste, one religion, and one God for humanities. That was the idea put forward by Srinarayana Guru. The Srinarayana Guru, at first he decided to reform the society because many social evils that practice in our society, many lower caste peoples, they were not allowed to go to temples. So he started many movements and he decided to enter the temples. Who decided? Srinarayana Guru. He decided to enter the temples. His ideas are that will become influenced in the society. The peoples, they were attracted towards the ideas of Srinarayana Guru. He advocated for the freedom of the caste. He advocated for social justice. He advocated for equality in the society. All these sects were formed by leaders who come from non-Brahmin castes. All these, those who come forward, they were non-Brahmin sections. Even Srinarayana Guru also belongs to non-Brahmin sections. Then he argued for the freedom of the individual. He argued for social justice. He argued that all the caste will be, there will be one thing only, that is humankind. We have to think about humankind. We never fight as this caste, that caste. Rather than this, we have to think that we are all humankind, and we have only one religion. That is enough for us. One religion is enough for all the peoples. One humankind, that will help to make all these humankind to unite together. That was the idea put forward by Srinarayana Guru. And he was against domination in the society. The Brahmin society, they dominated the society. They were the upper caste, they dominated the society. He was against such kinds of dominance. Who was against such kinds of dominance? Srinarayana Guru advocated for the freedom of this lower caste, and he advocated for the freedom of the people, and he argued for the social equality. He said that Guru Jati, Guru Madam, Guru Devam, Manishyan. It means that one religion, one caste, and one God for humanities and one God for humanity. He argued for the freedom of the people, and he wanted to eradicate social evils in the society, and he was against domination of the Brahmins in the society. These leaders tried to create a self-esteem. They said that all these, even the lower caste, upper caste, all the sections of the peoples, they have self-esteem among the subordinate caste. Among the subordinate caste, they have self-esteem at all. They never think that, oh, he
we are born in this lower caste. That is our fate. This is our fate. We are born in lower caste. This is our fate, and we are sufferers. They never think like that. This Narayana Guru and other social reformers, they said that you have self-esteem. You have self-esteem. You never think that you belongs to lower caste, you belongs to this caste due to your birth, you are born in this, that is our fate. You never think like that. You have self-esteem, and you have also esteem like the people of the upper caste. So they advocated for what? They advocated for social equality in the society. They advocated social equality in the society, and many groups they comes forward, and many non-Brahminical movement that was established in our society. So due to the efforts of these leaders, these social evils and practices that stopped, and this social reformation that happened in our country due to the efforts of these leaders. I hope that you understood all this about women caste and reform. Next class we will continue about we can study more about in our next class. Thank you. I am going to wind up the session. Thank you, children. Thank you.